when I knew that we were going to do this interview, I listened to the whole album for the first time in years and went, wow, that's quite good.
But Stephen has a fantastic ear for what Gentle Giant has done.
He brings something totally different to it. And we love that. We love the fact that he brings something different to it. He doesn't try and mix it in a modern way. He's very kind of respectful. Only uses kind of emulations of even the effects we would have used then, like the plate reverbs and the stuff that would have been available to us. He doesn't go ultra modern on it. I would probably. I'd be kind of sacrilegious and go, to hell with it. We're mixing it in 2021.
Well, I don't know if Stephen is moving things around, and I don't think he is. I don't think he's taking that much of a revisionist approach, because to listen to the music, I mean, listen to it with headphones.
But I think the sound of the remix of Freehand sounds great, actually. I mean, the individual instruments are much clearer and more separated, and so you can hear sort of the arrangements much more sort of with a clarified way, to my ears anyway. I mean, I think it's better than the original.
I think a lot of it's when he does the remixes, a lot of people give him very detailed notes, very specific to different parts. But our attitude has always been, no, whatever you hear in there is relevant, because if we get obsessed, we'll go back to how we thought about it.
Personally, I think it's obviously better than we did, because we only had a certain amount of time and opportunity and really resources to make it as good as Stephen has done it. But
I couldn't believe the level of clarity that was provided across all of the instruments. A lot of the hiss is gone. The drums and percussion in particular, they sound fresh and clean, and they don't sound sort of muddied in any way. So really a vibrant recording.
All around, all around, all around, all around, all around.
It's such a pleasure to listen to. I mean, it's more than having listened to the album for however many years, 45 years or whatever it is, and getting used to that sound, and then to hear it really sounding like a performance in some ways for the first time. When I think about the original mix, it's like a series of set pieces. It's almost like constructions. There's something almost intimidating about how expert it is, and it's tempting, honestly, from a listening standpoint, and it's tempting to think of it as more than human in a way. And then when you listen to the new version, it's just a performance, obviously with overdubs, obviously very expert use of the studio, but you can really feel the performances more, and everyone is just on fire. I think that's kind of like peak studio performance period for Gentle Giant in some ways. The playing on the album is just quite unbelievable.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I think actually, to my ears, I think it's slightly tighter on Interview, the next album, although the music it goes a bit more obscure. But I think I'm just because Stephen's also he's kind of done preliminary mixes for Interview as well, which would be coming eventually. But and when he sent me those, I thought this band's pretty tight. It's like, and I didn't feel that with Freehand particularly. It felt a little bit not quite under rehearsed, but there's certain things we might have picked up if we'd have played it a little bit more before the recording. I don't know.
But in fairness, we didn't like to rehearse too much. To get to know the songs too well, because at that time it would rob it of a bit of improvisation. You know, take chances when you don't know it, and sometimes that works out really good. It was always great working in the studio with the guys because we worked hard. It wasn't party time at all in the studio. We went in and we worked, and we were very proud if the thing took one take, if you could do it in one take or two takes. Actually recording the backing tracks, if we didn't get it in 3 takes, we'd abandon it and come back to it later. So it was a musical education for me.
The themes and the titles and just the general concepts for all the songs on Freehand are really strong, really indelible from start to finish. It's just a strong, memorable set of tunes, and the lyrics are fantastic. The vocal performances are fantastic.
From my point of view, the big difference is when Phil was in the band, and they it was split between Phil and Derek, who did the lyrics. Phil was very much influenced by literature, you know, and always wanted to relate things to literature, where Derek's approach is much more abstract. It's like it came from just ideas. And so, take it away.
You had Gary, who was the blues player. I'm the kind of a rock drummer. Raymond is bebop jazz, and Kerry is classical baroque. So you got all these different guys all throwing in ideas. So you're bound to come up with something different, aren't you?
Yeah, John really, honestly, was. If we didn't have John, it would have sounded less pleasant. I think John was almost a cornerstone in what we did. So I mean, you know, incredible drummer, and he hit the snare so damn hard. You can't see right now, but my hair's parted still in the middle from the snare beat.
Well, Kerry never ceased to amaze me, the stuff he came up with. But the thing was, he was classically trained, and what would come out of his head was just out of his world. It was, you know, you never knew what was going to happen from one second to the next.
Kerry obviously was much more, score oriented. Ray, in some respects, was the same way, except that he would put it down in whatever form and way he wanted. I mean, that was our main musical writers, and if I contributed a little bit, it was basically intuitive. I'd usually, drag Ray into my little pieces and say, "Ray, help," which he did, and made it something which was at least worthwhile putting a recording, if not to listen to.
In fact, there's nothing that I dislike on the album at all. I think it's so diverse. There's so many different things on it. Because just the same as a straight out rocker, and then you get On Reflection. How could it possibly be the same band?
I think it was a very happy recording, actually. Just remember it, being particularly after, because we'd come out of, the kind of bad era when, from Phil leaving and then management problems and everything like that. And then by the time we got to Freehand, I think we were pretty much having a good time, I think.
As far as, our enjoying ourselves, one thing I don't think the band across the board, to a person, ever did was take each other or the band seriously, in quotes, that we were some kind of like magical orchestra that everyone should be in awe of. We were just having a fun time on stage, and if we were able to project that to the audience, that was great for us. I mean, we smile and look at the audience, and they'll smile back, as opposed to shoe staring, long passages of a mellotron and thinking we were the LSO or something. So that differentiated the band from a lot of our sort of so-called contemporaries, if you like.
Freehand was the first one that we did after the change of management, and we felt a lot more comfortable then. We were getting good reviews and great concerts in America, and we were moving into bigger and bigger venues, and even at that time we were starting to headline smaller, like 5,000 seaters. So there was definitely a taste of success there, and we were really up for it. Really wanted to go for it.
I was curious about the process of changing up songs for a live performance. And in the case of On Reflection, it's a complete other, entirely ambitious arrangement. So like that chamber piece at the beginning, would that be just a written arrangement that Kerry would bring?
Some of it, yeah, but some of it came out of rehearsal as well, just like, find out what works. And then it would even adapt over a few gigs sometimes. When if kind of parts fell flat, we kind of, rework a little bit.
When we finished the album, we were off on tour then, promoting it. So we started playing Just the Same and On Reflection on stage. So, and they were always different. The stage arrangements were always very, very different to the recorded arrangement or the arrangement that was on the record. So we treated them both differently, always.
Yeah, I think that really, in certain respects, the album versions, I've said this before, but the album versions of the songs that we recorded were kind of like sketches for this stage show. In the stage show, we present them in a kind of a completely different way. So we were on an album; it was just for the music that hopefully people would like and enjoy and buy. On stage, we were performing and hopefully entertaining. So to do that, we had to. I like to show off, I guess. So we showed off and said, okay, we can do this. If you don't like it, you can boo, but that's okay. But yeah, we were able to do it, so we did it. So we changed up things and made things, excerpts of various songs, and again, it was almost like a sketch for the painting for the stage. Our rehearsals were pretty intense. I mean, no one liked it, but we made sure that we rehearsed pretty hard before we went out there.
That's beautiful, and it was wonderful from an audience standpoint to get something. It felt generous of the band to come up with an experience that was unique from the album, as opposed to getting carbon copies of what's on the album.
In fairness, I never listened to us ever. I mean, when we put these releases together, it's almost like an academic exercise.
After we recorded an album and put it out, I would never listen to it. I would always hate it. Maybe I'd go back to it 6 months later. The actual recording itself, because there was always something that I was unhappy with. Always something. But over time, that it would only be so minuscule that nobody ever notices it except you. I don't read music myself, so it was a case of learning it off by heart. And I used to get little cassette tapes from Kerry in the post and learn them, count through them. And by the time I got all the counts right in my head, I knew the song.
We actually didn't. I mean, we didn't think of time signatures, because we thought more of in kind of just little themes more than anything else. And if they happened to be, they turned out to be odd time signatures. But it was really the riff or whatever was the, it wasn't like we'll do a song in 7, And of course, John's attitude was, well, you get a bar of 7, you get a bar of 5. I can just play through 4s, and it's like in it.
I know it's not Ray's favorite album, but I like the album a lot personally. We just got the rights back to Civilian. I think I like this album. There's a lot of fans out there that say, "Poo poo, it's not the same thing." This is different band. We're not playing 9/4 or 13/7 or whatever, but I think it's a really good rock album. Sorry, and one of my favorite tracks of Gentle Giant. This is me, not probably the rest of the guys. Is Inside Out. I think it's great. And we have that, so we're going to be putting that out this year.
One thing that came up in a previous interview, I think it was Ray, who said in the 1970s, Gentle Giant faced difficulty in getting audiences to resonate with sophisticated arrangements. But today's audience, is it more diverse or is it just more global? There's more people, more awareness. Like, why do you think the music is flourishing, 30, 40 years later?
Who knows? Who knows? I don't know. I'm always surprised that people be even interested. So it's very gratifying.
I think part of the reason, obviously, is the ability for a lot of people to hear the music for the very first time, and young audiences who weren't even born when we broke up are discovering the music through the social media outlets, the YouTubes and the Instagrams, and not TikTok yet, but thankfully, but excuse me, but Facebook and everything else, and I don't want to sound pompous, but Ray will smack me on the head if I try and. But I think we were pretty authentic. We weren't trying to be or follow someone else. We were just being ourselves, and I think that resonates to a fairly decent-sized niche worldwide. I think there's a lot of stuff out there that that is basically programmed on a computer or whatever, and it's computerized. And again, I'm not going to say it's good or bad, but it's it is what it is. But we didn't have any computers. We just had revoxes, as Ray said, and our instruments, and I think that has resonated and has. The reason why it's flourished is because it's been able to be discovered by a new generation and other generations from there, and then therefore it's become it's held up, and I think it's even flourished because of that, because it's not like something else. I'm going to say unique.